Hello. The talk of this video is going to be about the departure of yet another unpaid child laborer from Alex's team and yet another accusation of Mulberry's artwork being traced. The usual business behind development of Yandere simulator. Before I'll get to the details of the situation, I'll give you a short summary. Moonzie, one of the modelers of Yandere simulator team, confronted Yanderedev with the claim that Mulberry traced his illustration. Yanderedev tried to resolve the situation, but Moonzie didn't want to have any of that. He didn't want to have any solution or compromise, he wanted to have his way, and when he didn't get what he wanted, he left, slamming the door. This took place more than a month ago, but I haven't seen people discussing this topic outside of Discord chat rooms. This story has some unexpected twists, but I won't spoil them for you. With this being said, let's get down to the meat of the video. Some time ago, I was sent a collection of screenshots which contained conversation between Moonzie, the modeler of Yandere simulator, and our beloved senpai, Yanderedev. Unfortunately, I could not react quickly to these news because I was preoccupied with very important business, such as spending more time in my bed. But better late than never. I'm going to show you this conversation, give some commentary and some context to the situation. The conversation starts with Moonzie sliding into Yanderedev's DMs and complaining about Mulberry. Specifically, he complained that she traced the silhouette he made for Medibank contest. He was acting very, and mind you, very upset. Yanderedev was skeptical of the fact Mulberry traced the silhouette drawn by Moonzie, despite the fact she has a very long record of tracing previous illustrations for Yandere simulator. Yanderedev did not see enough similarity between two pictures to believe the claims of tracing. Moonzie did not want to let it go and kept pressing Dev. It almost worked. Yanderedev considered the possibility of the claims being true. As a response, Yanderedev tried to explain the work relationships between the artists and the employer. He explained to Moonzie that illustrations artists make for clients do not belong to them. It's the client's business what's being done with the illustrations after the fact they were passed over. This is a very important part. A lot of kids on the internet have warped perception of intellectual property and copyright. Even if Mulberry did in fact trace the silhouette, it's still not Moonzie's business. After he passed it to Yanderedev, it became an asset of Yandere simulator project. Therefore, Yanderedev can do whatever he wants with it, even asking one of his artists to trace it. To sweeten Moonzie's superficial grief, Yanderedev offered him something he doesn't usually do. Not even Mulberry was worthy of such privilege. He offered to pay for the illustration. You'd think Moonzie accepts such a deal that's obviously in his favor, but that's not what he wants, and so he decided to take advantage of the situation and demanded payment for all the art pieces he had made for Yandere simulator. We know Yanderedev drops artists very easily, especially when they don't cooperate, let alone inconvenience him like this. This was not a smart thing to do on Moonzie's part. Again, Yanderedev tried to educate this exceptional negotiator, but failed. At this screenshot, we see Moonzie being jealous of Mulberry. He shows detailed and colored character from the said silhouette, but it doesn't look good at all. Actually, it looks pretty bad, and it raises some questions. By the way, Moonzie picks some very interesting wording in this message, but I'll get to this later. The following screenshots don't really need any commentary. Here comes the best part. Yanderedev decided to verify whenever Mulberry's drawing is in fact traced. We know that Moonzie claimed it's the Frankenstein tracing with parts stretched and liquefied, however, there are some criteria that needs to be met in order to prove the picture was traced. This criteria is very simple, there needs to be some lines that are matching together. Yanderedev compared these two drawings and did not find any matches. But why should we believe this man? He's supposed to be always wrong, he's supposed to be always bad, and everyone who has any problem with this man is a holy saint incapable of sin. Am I right? Let's take a look at the comparison ourselves. The boots. Looking closely, we can see Mulberry has a different shape of footwear on the character, but that's not all. The legs don't seem to follow the silhouette accurately enough. It seems to be her regular chubby calves and thighs. The hand. Again, the fingers don't seem to have matching outlines. It actually does look like Mulberry just drew the same gesture. Other parts of the characters don't give us enough of similarity as well. There is hardly any spot to glue Mulberry's drawing to. Now, someone may say it was stretched, liquefied, warped in any other way, but in this case we must look for matching lines, and they need to match very well. However, this case is also very different. Mulberry's illustration is supposed to have the same pose as the silhouette. Because of this, trying to edit the image to fit Moonzie's drawing is not a valid hook to claim it was traced. So the conclusion is, Mulberry did not trace this image. I know, it's a cold day in hell when I say such a thing, and Satan is probably suffering a bad case of frostbite, but that seems to be the truth. Mulberry did not trace this time. Now, let's get back to the conversation between the developer and our little prima donna. There is not much meaningful being shared between these two. At the end, Moonzie leaves the conversation, slamming the door. Now that you see what the fuss was all about, I'll give you some more commentary on the subject. It's interesting to see the same patterns with Yandere Simulator volunteers. I have said this before and I'll say this again, when you don't offer monetary compensations, the people who come to participate in your project are going to be immature, unskilled, and most importantly, they will be seeking validation and an ego boost, rather than practice or experience. These people are difficult to work with, they won't treat the work seriously, and they may take it personal, which will prompt them to cause conflicts with or between other members of the development team. This is what I see happened with Moonzie. When he was giving his time to Yanderedev for free, he was fine until the moment he felt his recognition or validation were being taken away by Mulberry. He didn't even take the money offer seriously, but instead he took it as an opportunity to make the situation look more dramatic. I want to point out this little thing. When Moonzie confronted Yanderedev about the illustration, he never made a single demand. All he did was complain and being overly dramatic. He was strongly accentuating how much upset he was. It's not even clear what he wanted in this situation, but one thing I can say for sure. His ego was hurt so bad, he didn't even seem to think straight. The way he was wording his messages gives away a strong impression he had a breakdown. What makes the whole situation even more ridiculous and shows what kind of ego Moonzie has is that he didn't even want to question his premature judgment when Mulberry's drawing was meant to have the same pose as the silhouette made by him. He was so committed to the idea of Mulberry tracing, he completely ignored lack of matching lines in her picture. Not only that, he had to do a very extensive edit in order to match some parts. In this case, it's just unacceptable. But there is more. Remember the weird wording in one of the Moonzie's messages? Remember that awkward drawing he showed to Dev? Something doesn't come together. That something is the disparity between the skill used in the illustration of the silhouette and the drawing of Ayano's cousin. Take a look. One is very amateur, the other one looks decent. How can one artist have such massive inconsistency with their work? Actually, we already know the answer and an example. Mulberry is just like that. Could this mean that Moonzie is a tracer? The signs are pointing to this conclusion. Big, bright, neon signs. One thing I can say for sure, these two pictures were not made by the same person. It's two different and distant levels of skill. I have tried to find more of his work, but looks like there is very little on the web. Here are two examples that do not look traced. Please note the eyes. What do I have to say in conclusion? The development gets more and more ridiculous. It became a playground for amateurs to boost their egos by participation in all this mess. Volunteers don't even seem to be interested in monetary compensation. They come in, try to contribute, they don't like something or someone, so they try to stir a conflict. And when they don't get their way, they try to sabotage the progress or hurt Yanderedev in spite. You know, even given Yanderedev's inadequacies, incompetency, and numerous unpleasantries, things like these make me more sympathetic towards him, but not towards the kids who willingly come to him to give their time for free, knowing very well how business of Yandere Simulator development is handled. That's all I wanted to share with you in this video. Thank you for watching.